Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, February 10, 2020. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and live via streaming worldwide through UNTV News and Rescue Facebook account and UNTVweb.com. I'm Herlene Delgado, sitting in for William Theo.
And here are the headlines.
The Philippines' first confirmed case of the novel coronavirus has been discharged from the hospital, as the number of patients under investigation for the virus in the country has climbed up to 314. 4 Filipinos among 6 new coronavirus infections on a cruise ship in Japan. Quarantine period begins for 30 Filipino repatriates from Wuhan City, China. The brother of Peter Jomel Advincula alias Bicoy calls on the government to expedite the case against former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV. Solicitor General Jose Calida files a case against ABSCBN asking the Supreme Court to cancel its franchise, which expires next month. And South Korean comedy thriller film Parasite makes history by winning Best Picture in the Academy Awards.
The first case of novel coronavirus in the country, a Chinese tourist from Wuhan who had been traveling with a man who died of the virus, has recovered and was already discharged. The last test on the 38-year-old woman, conducted on February 6, showed she was negative for the virus.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health confirms there are suspected cases of the new coronavirus in all regions of the country. The number of patients under investigation for the virus has climbed up to 314. Among them are 183 Filipinos. Aiko Miguel will explain why.
The Department of Health confirms there are patients under investigation or PUI in all regions in the Philippines. The number of PUIs in the country has increased to 314 as of today. 261 of them are admitted in health facilities. 50 have been discharged but remain under strict monitoring. 183 of the PUIs are Filipinos, 99 are Chinese, and the rest are different nationalities. The DOH clarifies, however, that although most of the PUIs are Filipinos, none of them are positive for the 2019 nCoV acute respiratory disease. To date, there are only 3 confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus in the country.
Well, actually kasi lahat ng regions meron na, no? All regions have at least one. Mas marami na talaga yung Filipinos kasi nga sila yung mga nakasabay sa aeroplano, nakasabay sa mga sasakyan, sa hotel, tsaka sa hospital nung na-admit. No local transmission yet, and in fact, we have still no negative. We have 109 tests that turned out to be negative and no additional positive tests. So there are still the 3 important cases.
DOH data show that 109 of the PUIs tested negative for nCoV, and 202 are waiting for the results of the confirmatory test. The first confirmed nCoV case in the country, a 38-year-old female Chinese from Wuhan City, was discharged last Saturday. She had recovered, but the DOH is still verifying if she has already traveled back to China. The DOH has also put up on their website a real-time tracker of PUIs in the country. The DOH also clarifies that up to now, it is not yet confirmed if nCoV can be transferred to a human through airborne transmission. The Health Department advises the public to take precautionary measures.
I did ask for information on this from the WHO office, and they said that there's nothing conclusive about it at this time. It's still being studied by the World Health Organization, but of course, precaution is still to be taken. But until we're given any hard evidence, right now the WHO has not classified it as an airborne infection.
Health Undersecretary Eric Domingo also clarifies that Taiwan has been included on WHO's list of countries with travel restrictions to the Philippines. The official says its implementation began last weekend.
Nagkaroon ng confusion ng mga naunang araw, but I think as you all know, over the weekend na full implementation na. Well, in the same way that what happened to we're still accepting flights from China and we're letting people down if they are Filipinos or permanent residents.
The DOH further says the government has no plan yet for a second batch of repatriation of OFWs from Wuhan City, Hubei Province, China. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
6 more people on a cruise ship quarantined in Yokohama have tested positive for a new coronavirus, the health ministry said on Sunday, bringing the total number of those infected on board to 70. The 5 crew members and 1 passenger, 4 Filipinos, 1 American, and 1 Ukrainian in their 20s to 70s have no serious symptoms, Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare said. The ministry said it has tested 336 potentially infected people from around 3,700 passengers and crew on the vessel. And the latest results on 57 people turned up. There's 6 new cases. The ship carrying customers from more than 50 countries and regions have been kept in quarantine since Monday after a passenger who disembarked in Hong Kong was found to be infected with a pneumonia-causing virus. The government is also working on a request to get medication to those on board who are suffering from chronic conditions. More than 100 passengers on board a Philippine Airlines flight from Xiamen, China, returned to the Philippines safely. Some of them say they returned home for their own safety and their worried families. Joanano tells us why.
To accommodate passengers stranded in the country due to the existing travel ban to China, Hong Kong and Macau, Philippine Airlines has allotted special flights bound to Xiamen, China with a returning flight. Around 7:30 this morning, the special flight from Manila to Xiamen departed with almost 100 foreign passengers, while a total of 124 Filipino citizens and Philippine passport holders took the returning flight. All passengers booked on the special flight submitted their passports and proof of citizenship before being allowed to get on the plane.
Papasalamat po tayo sa piloto at mga cabin crew ng Philippine Airlines for volunteering in this special mission to bring back to China our stranded Chinese tourist guests and our foreign guests, and of course for the return flight to bring back our kababayans.
But according to a UNTV source, 1 passenger was instructed to return to Xiamen as his permanent residency application here in the Philippines is still on a probationary process. Prior to the flight's departure from Xiamen City, the health condition of the passengers were strictly monitored by authorities. They were also checked upon their arrival in the Philippines. None of them show any symptoms of the virus, but the passengers still have to undergo the 14-day home quarantine. Even the pilots and the cabin crew members of the special flight must also complete the quarantine period.
Sa bahay muna talaga, bahay. Kasi pinag-usapan na namin ng family namin na talagang wala muna sila sa bahay.
According to some of the returning Filipinos, they decide to get back home for their safety, but admitted they still want to fly back to China if the situation permits.
Unang-una sa sarili ko, gusto ko maging safe eh. Tapos yung pag-aalala ng pamilya ko, kaya kailangan mo din umuwi. May agreement naman po kami sa employer namin bago po kami umalis. Okay. May sinulat po kaming letter and pinayagan naman po kami.
Philippine Airlines clarifies that flights to China are still allowed by the government. According to the Civil Aeronautics Board, the travel ban prohibits only the entry of foreigners coming from China, Hong Kong and Macau. PAL has yet to decide whether they should provide another special flight to China. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
30 Filipinos coming from Wuhan City, ground zero of the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak, are now housed in the quarantine facility designated by the Philippine government. According to health authorities, all of Filipinos are healthy. Mirasol Abogadil will tell us why.
The team tasked to ensure the safe trip back home of Filipinos in Wuhan City, Hubei Province, Central China arrived with their repatriates on Sunday morning at Clark International Airport. The first batch of repatriated Filipinos consists of 29 adults and 1 infant. That means only 30 from the original count of 56 returned to the Philippines on a chartered flight. None of them manifest symptoms of coronavirus infection. They were immediately transported to the designated quarantine facility in the new Clark City Athletes Village in Tarlac. The repatriation team and 6 flight crew members will also undergo the 14-day quarantine.
After 3 days po, mental health team from our facility in Maribeles will go there and assess ano ba yung mga mental needs or psychosocial support that we need to provide, because hindi po biro yung mag-quarantine ka ng 14 days. Siyempre, mabubor ka dyan.
Every individual to be quarantined will stay in a separate room except for those who came together with a family member or a child. No visitation is allowed in the facility, but they will be allowed to use their mobile phones as well as given access to Wi-Fi to communicate with their families. Food, medicine, and hygiene kits are provided for free.
They will also be provided opportunity to breathe fresh air. Meron doong portion na parang near the door, by batch, by schedule, they can go out and see the world around and enjoy the view of the NCC. And this will be the routine.
5 health personnel are designated to monitor those under quarantine. They will not have direct contact as they will be housed in different buildings. New Clark City remains on lockdown. Tight security is being implemented in and out of the quarantine facility. Code Blue Alert has been raised in all public hospitals in Central Luzon to address the medical needs of the repatriated Filipinos. Under Code Blue Alert, all doctors, nurses, and hospital staff are on call and must be ready to go on duty as needed. The Foreign Affairs Department calls on Filipinos in Hubei, China who wish to be repatriated to coordinate with the Philippine Consulate General in Shanghai. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
The Department of Health strongly encourages the public to avoid attending, participating in, and organizing events that involve a huge number of attendees. Such event includes concerts and conventions. Rosa Licos explains why.
Prevention remains to be better than cure. The Health Department advises the public to be extra careful with a growing number of people infected with the 2019 novel coronavirus. This is to fend off the spread of the disease. The DOH explains close contact during mass events is inevitable.
It's recommending people, especially for mass gatherings, na magkakadikit-dikit sila, to avoid that and postpone if possible. But yun namang mga activities na hindi mo talaga makontrol, as long as you observe the infection control protocol, hygiene, then probably it's okay. Depende na rin po sa mga organizers, making sure that the welfare of their attendees, participants are given priority.
The public is also advised by the Health Department to avoid crowded places and to continue practicing self-protection. However, if public events are to be conducted such as medical and business convention, the organizers are expected to implement their own preventive measures against the spread of the nCoV.
For those activities, especially medical convention, as long as you observe strict precautions of contaminating or infecting or contact with others, then we really will assume that people will be responsible of taking care of their health.
The DOH reminds the public that these are the times when everyone needs to be extra careful. Rosa Licos, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Researchers from Guangzhou, China have suggested that pangolins may be an intermediate animal source of the coronavirus between the pets and humans in the epidemic that has claimed more than 900 lives. Stephanie C. tells us why.
As the deadly coronavirus sweeps across the globe, killing hundreds, halting cruise ships, and prompting border closures, scientists race to find out exactly how the outbreak began. Now, a new study out of China suggests that endangered pangolins, a scaly anteater, are the most likely link between the coronavirus, bats, and humans. While initial speculation pointed to seafood, snakes, and other bat-borne coronavirus from Yunnan province in southwestern China, researchers from the South China Agricultural University have found that a genetic sequence of the virus from pangolins is 99% identical to the coronavirus. That means before reaching humans, the virus was likely passed from bats to the pangolin, the most illegally traded animal in the world. Meanwhile, the number of people killed by the new coronavirus rose by 97 on Sunday, the highest number of casualties in a day. The total number of deaths in China is now 908. Across China, 40,171 people are infected, while 187,518 are under medical observation. The World Health Organization has sent a team of experts to Beijing to help investigate the new virus.
It's not clear which of those provinces may end up having complete control over the disease, or in which provinces that may escalate in. And I think the Chinese authorities are taking extra actions in some provinces. They have some concerns, obviously, and we will see.
According to Chinese data, 3,281 patients have been cured and discharged from hospital. Over the weekend, the number of coronavirus deaths overtook that of the SARS epidemic in 2003, which also originated in China and killed 774 people worldwide. The WHO on Saturday said the number of new cases in China was stabilizing, but warned it was too early to say if the virus had peaked.
There has been a stabilization in the number of cases reported from Hubei. And we're in a sort of a 4-day stable period where the disease or the number of reported cases hasn't advanced, and that's good news and may reflect the impact of the control measures that have been put in place.
On Sunday evening, the organization sent an international mission to help coordinate a response to the outbreak. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
Welcome back to iNews. A brother of Peter Jomel Advincula alias Bicoy calls on the government to expedite the case against former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV. According to alias Bicoy, Trillanes is the mastermind of the video series that aims to oust President Rodrigo Duterte through Project Sodoma. Leia Ilagan details why.
After months of silence since Peter Jomel Advincula uploaded the Ang Totoong Narcolist video series, Joseph, his younger brother has sought UNTV's help in airing his appeal to the government. His call to expedite the case against former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV in order for alias Bicoy to live a normal life.
Ang gusto lang iparating namin ay magkaroon na po ng kalinawan yung kaso niya sa DOJ. Magkaroon na po, pinapanalangin namin na sana ay magkaroon na ng pagsisimula kung ano man po yun, para maano na natin kung ano na ba talaga kanino igagawad yung hustisya, para magkaroon na rin kami as a family, magkaroon na rin kami ng katahimikan.
Joseph reveals there are moments when Bicoy wants to turn his back to the case because of experiencing financial, security, and health issues. Bicoy has fallen sick and needs medical attention. Joseph has this call to the President.
Kung makaabot ito sa ating mahal na Pangulo na tulungan siya sa kanyang mga medikasyon dahil wala naman siyang permanenteng trabaho, isa lang siyang ordinaryong mamamayan ng Pilipinas, and nangangailangan po siya ng tulong. Actually, after ng kanyang mga kontrobersiya na nakasangkutan sa mga kaso, pamilya na po talaga yung tumulong sa kanya.
Joseph adds Bicoy is not under the government's witness protection program, so they are worried about his security. Meanwhile, Senator Trillanes continues to deny Bicoy's accusations. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Department of Justice finds probable cause to indict former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV and 10 others with conspiracy to commit sedition. The respondents include Peter Jomel Advincula alias Bicoy, who uploaded the Ang Totoong Narcolist video series. The DOJ panel of prosecutors said those individuals conspired to destabilize the Duterte administration. Meanwhile, Trillanes in a statement says the case is just using the law against the opposition. The DOJ, on the other hand, cleared Vice President Leni Robredo, Senators Laila de Lima and Risa Hontiveros, and former Senator Bam Aquino of the sedition charges. Solicitor General Jose Calida personally led the filing of a petition for co-warranto at the Supreme Court against ABSCBN Corporation. But the giant media network responds, everything it does is in accordance with the law. Dante Amento tells us why.
We filed it this morning against ABS-CBN Corporation and yung subsidiary nila, no? Yung ABS-CBN Convergence Incorporated for violation of the Constitution and the laws.
Solicitor General Jose Calida seeks the forfeiture of the TV network's franchise, which is expected to expire on March 30, 2020. The co-warranto petition is due to the alleged violations committed by ABS-CBN of the terms and conditions of its franchise. The Office of the Solicitor General, or OSG, says that ABS-CBN launched and operated a pay-per-view channel without prior approval or permit from the National Telecommunications Commission. The OSG adds ABS-CBN has also been allowing foreign investors to take part in the ownership of a Philippine mass media entity. This is against the Constitution under Section 11, Article 16, which provides that ownership and management of mass media shall be limited to Filipino citizens. Calida clarifies politics has nothing to do with his office's action.
Because the president wants walang politics ito.
ABS-CBN in a statement answers it did not violate law and the Solgen's action is without merit, adding that all its business operations comply with all pertinent laws governing its franchise. Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue, City of Manila.
Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte has nothing to do with the co-warranto petition filed against network ABS-CBN by Solicitor General Jose Calida. The palace also explains there's a basis for the president's expression of displeasure with the giant entertainment network. Rosa Licos reports why.
Malacanang stands firm that President Rodrigo Duterte lets his officials perform their mandate. The palace denies that President Rodrigo Duterte has a hand on the co-warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida against ABS-CBN. Presidential spokesperson and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo today answered the criticisms of some lawmakers that the co-warranto petition is a curtailment of the right of the Congress to grant or renew a franchise.
Solgen is constitutionally bound to institute any action against any transgressions of law. And if a franchise holder is violating its franchise, then it is his duty to file a petition of co-warranto. Now, as to the plaint of a few members of Congress that such petition deprives the authority of Congress to grant franchise, I think it's very misplaced because Congress has the constitutional authority to grant a franchise. But when you file a petition for a franchise to be withdrawn, which has already been granted, it is not depriving Congress kasi sila nagbibigay eh. Kaya lang siya nag-file ng petition dahil may mga violation na sinasabi siya.
The palace official also denies that President Duterte's criticism against the giant entertainment and media network is a hint to Solgen's action of asking the Supreme Court to disenfranchise ABS-CBN. Panelo explains the president, as a citizen of the country, only expresses his displeasure with the network for what it did to him during the campaign period in 2016, which is not airing his campaign advertisement despite his payment.
Now, with respect to the, as you said, the president's feelings about ABS-CBN, there is a basis for his expression of displeasure. What? He was a victim of fraud. And when he expresses that,
that expression falls within the freedom of expression, which we cannot deprive a president of, given that all citizens are entitled to that. But it doesn't mean, nor has it anything to do with the petition filed by the Solicitor General, because that is the job of the Solgen. And if he does not do that, then he would be charged with dereliction of duty.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Legislators deem unconstitutional the quo warranto petition filed by the Office of the Solicitor General against ABSCBN Corporation. For some congressmen, the Office of the Solicitor General is encroaching upon the powers of Congress. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
Alarming and questionable. This is how some members of the House of Representatives find the action of the Office of the Solicitor General in its filing of a quo warranto petition against ABSCBN Corporation and its subsidiary ABSCBN Convergence Incorporated. According to lawmakers, granting, extending, or repealing a franchise is for the Congress to decide.
Ginagawa kaming kindergarten sa pag-file ng kasong ito kasi it is an exuberant intervention into the duty of Congress as stated in the Constitution.
The action of Solicitor General Calida in effect usurps the power of Congress in granting and cancelling the franchises. It is now encroaching upon the powers of Congress.
Cagayan de Oro Representative Rufus Rodriguez shares the same sentiment.
If the Solicitor General wants to repeal the franchise given to ABS-CBN, it should file its complaint here in Congress.
The lawmakers cited Article 12, Section 11 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which states that the Congress has the power to grant or repeal franchises to corporations in the country. According to Albay Representative Ed Silagman, quo warranto cannot be applied to ABS-CBN Corporation as it is a company registered in the Philippines and a holder of a franchise.
In the case of an enterprise which conducts TV and radio broadcasting, which has no valid franchise or has a pending franchise which is not yet granted, then quo warranto will prosper. But in the case of ABS-CBN, it has a valid congressional franchise, which is even now subject to renewal.
11 bills are now filed at the House Committee on Legislative Franchise for the renewal of ABS-CBN Corporation's franchise. But the committee has yet to schedule a hearing on the House bills and petitions. According to Congressman Rodriguez, this may be treated as a direct assault to press freedom.
I believe that this case should not have been filed at all. I am confident that the Supreme Court, knowing these doctrines and these constitutional provisions, will dismiss this case outright.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
A lawmaker in the upper chamber believes the move of the Solicitor General against ABS-CBN is an attack on the free press. Some senators reiterate the separation of powers and the jurisdiction of the two chambers of Congress over legislative franchises. Arlene Delgado details why.
After Solicitor General Jose Calida filed a quo warranto petition against ABS-CBN, some senators expressed their sentiments on the issue. For Senator Risa Hontiveros, the move was an attack on the free press.
Media is not an enemy. Ang free press ay isang importanteng check and balance laban sa anumang pagmamalabis ng anumang bahagi ng gobyerno. May track record na rin naman kasi yung Office of the Solgen na mga anti-democratic moves in the last few years. Dapat po bantayan po ito ng lahat ng mga mamamayan.
Hontiveros says she will talk to Minority Leader Franklin Drilon for a resolution expressing the sense of the Senate and its power over legislative franchises. Meanwhile, Senator Miguel Zubiri says majority of the members of the Senate is in favor of ABS-CBN's franchise renewal. However, the ball is now on the lower chamber side.
On a personal note, marami sa amin talaga ng senador that feels na
dapat tuloy ang pagbibigay ng franchise sa kanila. But of course, again, it's beyond our control. Wala po sa aming kamay ito. Nasa kamay po ito ng Kongreso.
Senator Grace Poe respects the move of the Solicitor General. However, she insists the Senate and the lower house have the authority to hear legislative franchises. The senator believes they can still proceed with the hearing, as the co-warranto petition was intended against the ABSCBN current franchise. Poe chairs the Senate Committee on Public Services that hear legislative franchises.
Ganun talaga sa isang demokrasya eh. May pagsasalubong ng kanya-kanyang opinyon. Pero para sa akin, igigiit ko ang mandato ng Senado na dapat ay madinig man lang ang mga bagay-bagay ukol sa prangkisa. Sana umaasa rin kami na respetuhin rin nila ang kapangyarihan ng Kongreso at ng Senado.
Senator Francis Kiko Pangolins says the Congress has the duty to give due process to ABS-CBN's franchise renewal application. The senator adds the complaints against the network should be formally filed before the Congress to give opportunity for all sides to be heard during hearings. Senator Joel Villanueva agrees that the Congress has power to act on franchises. The Congress has yet to start its committee hearings on the media network's franchise. Horlin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
More than 300 policemen have been relieved from their posts. PNP Chief Archie Gamboa says 2 of those are one-star generals. Leah Ilagan tells us why.
The Philippine National Police has relieved 357 policemen from their post. The relieved cops are included on the President's drug watch list. PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa says their ranks range from patrolman to one-star general. Some of them are users while others are protectors of illegal drug operations.
Look what happened before. People were accepting money from illegal gambling, when in fact, those who are actually running the show in illegal gambling are also running the show in illegal drugs.
Gamboa adds those police officers will be put through a 1-week investigation by the adjudication board in their respective regions before the probe is raised to the national headquarters. The results of those investigations will be submitted to President Rodrigo Duterte. Gamboa explains those caps may opt to avail optional retirement if they think they are guilty of the accusations against them.
Of the list, no, but they will give sort of help also or comfort on the part of the PNP. Because mind you, we are not only maintaining the list for PNP personnel. We're maintaining list of all those who are involved in drugs. So kung kunwari, nag-optional retirement ka, so good for us. We will not adjudicate you anymore because we don't have any jurisdiction. But if the information really confirms that you're involved, then you will go to the national watch list outside of the PNP.
One of the 357 policemen has signified to file an application for optional retirement. Gamboa refuses to divulge the name of the cop and the region where he is assigned. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Kam Krame.
2 barangays in Calidas District, Davao City are now on lockdown. The city government of Davao has made a move to prevent the spread of African swine fever. Affected hog raisers await financial assistance from the government. Marisol Montaño will tell us why.
The Davao City government strictly prohibits the importation of pork products coming from Luzon, Davao Occidental, and Davao del Sur, specifically from the towns of Malalag and Suluk, where several pigs are afflicted with African swine fever. According to Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio, the ban aims to prevent the spread of the deadly swine disease inside the city. 2 barangays in Davao City have reported ASF virus infection. These are barangays Dominga and Lamanan in Calidas District. About 2,500 infected hogs have already been collected from the 2 barangays. The culling of infected hogs continued today. The city government of Davao City assures financial assistance will be provided to all affected hog raisers. A 20 million peso fund has been allotted for such move. Mayor Sara continues to remind Davaoenos to contact the Davao City Veterinary Office immediately if their hogs show symptoms of ASF infection so that the government could act right away. These include high fever, decreased appetite and weakness, diarrhea, vomiting, coughing, and difficulty in breathing. Marisol Montaño, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Several oil companies will implement another oil price cut this week. Sea Oil already implemented their price reduction this morning. Gasoline prices went down by 30 centavos per liter, diesel by 60 centavos per liter, and kerosene prices by 1 peso and 40 centavos per liter. Shell will implement similar price reductions effective tomorrow. Petrogas will also implement a 30 centavos per liter rollback on gasoline and 60 centavo per liter rollback on diesel, which will also be effective on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Clean Fuel and Phoenix Petroleum already had their oil price reduction implemented last Sunday and Saturday, respectively. Their gasoline prices were also down by 30 centavos per liter, while diesel prices were down by 60 centavos per liter. Y News continues. President Rodrigo Duterte revealed today that U.S. President Donald Trump wants to save the Visiting Forces Agreement. However, the chief executive did not mention further details if he was able to personally talk with President Trump on the issue. President Duterte also slammed the U.S. for its interference in the case of Senator Laila de Lima. The president also questioned the effectivity of the balikatan or shoulder-to-shoulder exercises between the Philippines and U.S. forces on eliminating the decades-long rebellion in the Philippines. The chief executive made the statements when he led the meeting of the local chief executives in Pasay City this evening.
I'll make it public because public official ako. Si Trump pati yung others are trying to save the Visiting Forces Agreement. Sabi ko ayaw ko. One is that napakabastos ng Amerikano. Talagang sobrang bastos. Under threat that we will not receive the aid at may kulatilia that all persons who had a hand in the imprisonment of De Lima will not be allowed to go to the United States.
Scientists say it may take months to 2 years before a vaccine against the 2019 novel coronavirus can be created. This despite countries' and governments' efforts to find it. Let's find out why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
As the 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease continues to spread to as many as 25 countries, scientists strive to find a cure to the viral disease. According to the World Health Organization, as of this day, the nCoV has killed over 800 people and infected more than 37,000 others globally. Experts and research institutes across the globe relentlessly work in laboratories to develop a vaccine that is effective and safe for humans. Scientists admit, however, it may take a few more months or even years to produce one. Researchers from Australia anticipate theirs may be ready in 6 months. But some say it may even be the same as the case of the severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS in 2003 when the outbreak ended shortly before the vaccines were finally completed. According to Philippine Genome Center Executive Director Dr. Cynthia Saloma, the creation of a vaccine really requires a great deal of research and testing.
So, since it's going to be used for human consumption, kailangan i-validate mo talaga yung safety and efficacy, and that takes time. Pero I think with this kind of trajectory, the trajectory of nCoV, I think we will, the world might see a vaccine in a very fast rate.
Different organizations and governments are committed to allot big amounts of fund in finding a cure for all the deadliest and contagious types of coronavirus. The United Kingdom, for example, has offered to provide £20 million for the development of such vaccines. In the meantime, doctors are considering the use of existing antiviral medicines. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Food plays a major role in developing an illness as well as in the weakening of an individual's immune system, according to a lifestyle medicine specialist. Find out how to strengthen the immune system to avoid contracting a disease. Ray Pelayo reports.
Food is no doubt a basic necessity of humans for growth, good health, and survival. But improper intake of food may do harm instead. According to Dr. Mark Dexter Macalintal, a Filipino lifestyle medicine specialist, such food includes fast foods and processed foods. He adds it is also a matter of imbalanced diet and insufficient nutrient intake.
Maraming sakit ang mapiprevent natin if we have a healthy immune system, no? So tamang pagkain sana, no? Mas maraming plants, mas maraming fruits and vegetables kaysa sa mga meats na saturated fats ang binibigay sa atin.
Dr. Macalintal developed the 5 pillars of health that can strengthen the body. First is eating the so-called rainbow foods, especially different kinds of fruits and vegetables.
No virus can penetrate a healthy cell. No? No virus can penetrate an optimized cell. Kung yung mga virus ay nandyan, no? Hindi sila makakapasok sa atin kung optimized yung katawan natin, no? which is made up of cells. No? So pinakamaganda, we suggest that the color of the rainbows, no? Ilagay natin sa plato, no? Gamit yung mga prutas, gulay na yan.
Second is 150 minutes of exercise in a week or 30 minutes of brisk walk daily. Third is having 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Fourth, stopping vices or stressful activities. And fifth is taking supplements but with doctor's prescription of the right dosage.
Yung supplements natin, meron po siyang tinatawag na overdose pa rin. No? Maaari mag-overdose ka pa rin, which can lead to more harm than good.
Dr. Macalintal further explains that a balanced diet consists of vegetables, fruits, legumes like beans and peanuts, and grains like rice but in a small amount. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
And for the news abroad, here's RL Camille live from Takachuka, Japan. RL, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. As mourning begins for the 29 people who were killed in Thailand's worst mass shooting, the country is counting its losses. The dead include a 13-year-old student gunned down as he was riding his motorbike and more than 24 other people. Kath Dumaraos details this report.
Hundreds of family members of victims from Thailand's rampage shooting in Nakhon Ratchasima province gathered at Maharaj Hospital's morgue on Sunday, where the majority of the bodies were sent to for an autopsy and body identification. The Kanchanamethi family have lost their 13-year-old son Ratchanon Kanchanamethi in the shootout. Ratchanon was the youngest among over 20 victims that were killed.
As he was my only son, I allowed him to do anything he wanted to. I never set expectation for him. I only wanted him to be a good person.
There were 4 hospitals handling the crisis throughout the night until the pre-dawn on Sunday, when the shooter, a Thai sergeant major, was gunned down in the shopping mall he had holed up in for over 18 hours. Officials said the gunman was angry over a financial dispute with his commanding officer, whom he made his first victim before stealing guns from an army camp. He then headed to the shopping center, where he opened fire indiscriminately at people inside and outside the complex. The rogue soldier, identified as Jakrapan Toma, was finally shot dead early Sunday in the basement of the shopping mall. Meanwhile, hundreds of mourners have attended a vigil in Nakhon Ratchasima City on Sunday for the victims of the worst mass shooting in the country's modern history. People lit candles, laid down flowers, while others scrawled condolence messages on white sheets of paper laid out on the ground.
It's kind of mixed feeling. You have this rage, feel
to school. It took like 18 hours. I have 2 kids of my own, and just thinking about those lives in there, I couldn't sleep at all last night.
Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha visited a hospital where the wounded were being treated. He described the event as unprecedented. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Thailand.
Powerful winds and rain disrupt transport systems, with many areas fighting rising water levels after Storm Ciara hits across England. Meanwhile, parts of Australia has been hit by its heaviest rain in 30 years. Jovic Bermas reports why.
In Australia, Western Australia's upper parts were battling on Sunday the aftermath of a tropical cyclone Damien that made a landfall on Saturday afternoon, bringing gusty winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. The state weather agency said 391.6 millimeters of rain had fallen in the past 4 days and warned of potentially life-threatening flash floods.
Information from BOM that is talking another 25 to 50 mils this afternoon in the region and more rain tomorrow. So if that rain is to occur, we're certainly looking at a big impact on our region, and Council and our local disaster management group is doing everything in their powers to be prepared for that impact.
About 100,000 homes have also been left without power, but the rains have put out 2 of the biggest bushfires which have torn through New South Wales in past months. The Bureau of Meteorology has warned that fire-hit areas can be particularly prone to flooding, and that fast-moving waters can carry large amounts of debris. In Germany, Storm Sabine reached Germany on Sunday, forcing the cancellation of flights and train services in several parts of the country. At Cologne, 21 takeoffs and landings were cancelled due to the storm. In Germany's largest hub, Frankfurt, around 150 flights were cancelled, according to airport operator Fraport. A Dutch-banned German rail spokesman in Berlin said that service between Hamburg and the Danish capital Copenhagen was interrupted, as were trains to the island of Sylt. Dutch Bahn also warned of severe disruptions in other parts of northern Germany, saying that long-distance trains had stopped operating there. In the United Kingdom, Storm Ciara lashed Britain and northern continental Europe with heavy rain and wind speeds that reached more than 145 kilometers per hour on Sunday. Streets in the Yorkshire town of Hebden Bridge turned into rivers after the storm dumped heavy rain on the surrounding hills. More than 200 flood warnings were issued across Britain. One severe flood warning was put in place in Yorkshire, northern England, where water was predicted to overflow flood defences and potentially threaten lives. The storm caused major disruption to transport across the region. In the Netherlands, around 240 flights to and from Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, one of Europe's busiest, were cancelled. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the stories from around the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, RL Kamiya, reporting live from Takatsuka, Japan.
AFP Cavaliers and DeN Warriors win their first games in the UNTV Cup Season 8 best-of-3 semi-final series. But their opponents vow to bounce back in the next match. Bernardati tells us why.
A Battle of Champions just happened yesterday on the UNTV Cup hard court as the Season 8 semifinals at Paco Arena kick off. Three-time and defending champion AFP Cavaliers finally bounced back after losing only to Judiciary Magic last season and this season before the semifinals began. Despite reinforcement player Boyd Bautista and big man Jeffrey Kembao both playing injured, the Soldiers still managed to take down the Magics, who had a 6-point lead in the first quarter, 16-22, and just won by the end of second quarter, 40-41. Cavaliers coach Corporal Sonny Manukat said their game plan went well as they were able to limit Majesty player Chester Tolomia to only 5 points.
Yung game plan namin, malimit namin si Chester, yung mga wingman. Nung first half, kaya medyo nahirapan kami, nag-step up yung big man nila. So after second half, nag-adjust kami. Yun, at least nakabalik kami.
Manukat's team rallied in the third quarter and stole the lead 60-56. The Cavaliers maintained the momentum with an 8-0 run in the first 3.5 minutes of the last quarter, 70-56. Almost a minute left in the ball game, Judiciary managed to close in the gap. But the Cavaliers' defense denied the opponent to snatch the first win in the semis as the last buzzer of the ball game went off.
Siguro at least napatunayan namin na hindi kontrapelo. Siguro talaga pagkakamali lang namin yung last 2 games. Anyway, it's a different story. Semifinals game. Nag-prepare kami. I just have to give credit to my boys. It all paid off to this game.
Esa Rosopa with 12 points and Romeo Almerol with 11 points were hailed as the best players of the game. Jerry Lumungsod added 13 points, Darwin Cordero 12 points, and Wilfred Casulla 10 points. Meanwhile, the DNR Warriors' solid defense crushed the NHA Builders' game routine and drew the first blood in the first of 3 battles, 79-63. Ralph Lansang with 19 points and 10 rebounds, including a dunk in the first quarter, and Ed Rivera with 12 points and 13 rebounds lifted the Nature's Defenders team.
Kami lagi nagkakaproblema sa fouls namin. So, sa parteng yan, medyo nag-iingat kami. Nung third quarter, we emphasize on defense, pero yung minimize foul.
Well, una-una, we put emphasis dun sa depensa. Yun talaga yung gusto namin, we perfect the defense ng 2-3 zone. Thankfully, yung players natin nag-respond. So, maganda yung kinahinatnan.
DNR coaching staff said they dedicated their win to the department and all its executive and employees responsible for the Manila Bay rehabilitation. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue.
South Korean film Parasite has been named Best Picture at this year's Oscars, becoming the first non-English language film to take the top prize. Renee Zellweger won Best Actress for playing Judy Garland in Judy. Joaquin Phoenix was named Best Actor for Joker. Brad Pitt and Laura Dern scooped the Supporting Acting Awards for their roles in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Marriage Story, respectively. Parasite won 4 awards in total, while Sir Sam Mendes's 1917 took 3. Parasite's Bong Joon-ho beat Sir Sam to the prize for Best Director and also took the Best Original Screenplay award. The film is a vicious social satire about 2 families from different classes in Seoul, one who live in poverty in a semi-basement and another rich family residing in a large home.
It's totally crazy. Yeah.
It has now managed what no other subtitled film has done in the 92-year history of the Academy Awards and won Best Picture. And those are the reasons behind the news. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. I am Herlene Delgado.
And I am Angelo Castro III. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Well, actually kasi lahat ng regions meron na, no? All regions have at least one. Mas marami na talaga yung Filipinos kasi nga sila yung mga nakasabay sa aeroplano, nakasabay sa mga sasakyan, tas sa hotel, tsaka sa hospital nung na-admit. No local transmission yet. And in fact, we have still no negative. We have 109 tests that turned out to be negative and no additional positive tests. So there's still the 3 imported cases.
recommending people, especially for mass gatherings, na magkakadikit-dikit sila, to avoid that and postpone if possible. But yun namang mga activities na hindi mo talaga makontrol, as long as you observe the infection control protocol.
We filed it this morning against ABSCBN Corporation and yung subsidiary nila, no? Yung ABSCBN Convergence Incorporated for violation of the Constitution and the laws.
The action of Solicitor General Calida in effect usurps the power of Congress in granting and cancelling the franchises. It is now encroaching upon the powers of Congress.
SolGen is constitutionally bound to institute any action against any transgressors of law. And if a franchise holder is violating its franchise, then it is his duty to file a petition of quo.